Deep in a quiet village surrounded by hills and whispering woods stood an abandoned train station, simply known as the station. For decades, no one dared to go near it. Elders spoke of disappearances, shadowy figures, and an eerie clock that always read 3:33. Mark, a photographer drawn to forgotten places, was captivated by the legend. Determined to capture unique images, he arrived at the station one moonlit night. The air felt heavy, almost suffocating, as if the very atmosphere carried a warning. The trees seemed to lean toward him, their branches like skeletal fingers trying to hold him back. As he stepped inside, the sound of the floorboards creaking under his weight broke the oppressive silence. The station was massive, with rusted train cars lined up on overgrown tracks and shattered windows that looked like vacant eyes watching him. Mark turned on his camera and began photographing every corner. While reviewing the photos, he noticed something unusual. In one image, a dark figure stood at the far end of the platform, though it hadn't been there when he took the picture. Intrigued, he moved toward the train cars. The first car was empty, filled with graffiti and broken seats. But the second, one held something chilling, a worn-out suitcase lying open on the floor. Inside were clothes stained with what appeared to be dried blood and an old yellowed photograph of a group of people. Mark froze as he recognized his own face in the picture, wearing clothes from another era. A distant whistle pierced the silence. At first he thought it was the wind, but the sound grew louder, resembling that of an approaching train. The tracks, however, were covered in weeds, making it impossible for anything to move. The lights inside the train car began to flicker, and the door behind him creaked open. A tall, shadowy figure stepped inside. Though it had no face, Mark felt its gaze boring into him. It murmured in an incomprehensible language, and with every step it took, the air grew colder. Mark ducked behind a seat, holding his breath until the figure finally left. Just as he thought he was safe, the train jolted to life. Looking out the window, he saw the scenery change. The station had vanished, replaced by an endless tunnel shrouded in darkness. The once empty seats were now occupied by the passengers from the photograph, their hollow eyes fixed on him, their twisted smiles unnerving. The train screeched to a halt. The doors opened, and an invisible force dragged Mark onto the platform. He was back at what seemed to be the station, but something was wrong. Shadowy figures roamed silently, trapped in an eternal loop. The clock read 3:33. Suddenly Mark understood. He was trapped, just like the others, doomed to become part of the station. His camera, lying broken on the ground, captured one final image. Mark himself seated in the train car with hollow eyes and an expression of eternal terror.